There are three words that can end careers, topple governments, and destroy lives in less than 24 hours. These words are not threats, not curses, not accusations. They are quiet words, spoken softly in the right ears at precisely the right moment. Once released, they cannot be recalled. Once heard, they cannot be unheard. Once acted upon, they cannot be undone. The most dangerous people in any room are those who know these words and when to use them. They sit quietly in boardrooms while others argue. They listen carefully in meetings while others talk. They observe patiently in conversations while others reveal themselves. And when the moment arrives, when the timing is perfect and the target is vulnerable, they speak those three words, and empires crumble. What makes these words so powerful is not their content but their timing, not their volume but their precision, not their anger but their calm certainty. They are surgical instruments in the hands of those who understand anatomy, social anatomy, political anatomy, psychological anatomy. They cut exactly where the damage will be most severe and the healing most difficult. The uninitiated think power comes from shouting, from threatening, from displaying strength like a peacock shows its feathers. But true power whispers. It suggests rather than demands. It implies rather than states. It allows others to draw their own conclusions while guiding them toward inevitable outcomes. They understand something that escapes most people. In a world where everyone is connected to everyone else, where every conversation is potentially recorded, where every message leaves a digital trail, the most devastating weapons are not guns or bombs but words spoken in private moments to carefully selected audiences. Information is ammunition in this war, but not the kind of information that appears in newspapers or official reports. The real ammunition consists of secrets that people thought were safe, assumptions they believed were unshakable, relationships they trusted were secure. When these foundations crumble, everything built upon them collapses. The collection of this ammunition requires patience measured in years, sometimes decades. It begins with small observations, casual conversations, offhand remarks that seem meaningless at the time. But everything is recorded in memory, catalogued by relevance, filed by potential usefulness. What appears trivial today may become crucial tomorrow. They develop this capacity for strategic memory through constant practice, treating every interaction as a learning opportunity, every relationship as a source of intelligence, every conversation as a potential advantage. Nothing is too small to notice, nothing too insignificant to remember, nothing too personal to be eventually useful. This total awareness creates a different relationship with the world because everything becomes data, everyone becomes a source, every situation becomes an opportunity for information gathering. The casual comment at a dinner party may reveal financial difficulties. The offhand remark at a social gathering may expose marital problems. The frustrated outburst at a business meeting may indicate impending career crisis. Most people reveal far more about themselves than they realize, especially when they believe they are speaking confidentially, when they think they are among friends, when they assume their words will go no further. These moments of vulnerability create opportunities for those trained to recognize and exploit them. The exploitation is not immediate, not obvious, not crude. That would be amateur behavior that creates enemies and invites retaliation. Instead, the information is stored, cross-referenced with other intelligence, analyzed for patterns and connections, evaluated for potential applications. Over time, these accumulated fragments of information create detailed portraits of everyone in their sphere of influence. Not just their public personas but their private fears, their hidden desires, their secret shame, their unacknowledged needs. This knowledge becomes a form of power more valuable than money, more decisive than position, more dangerous than any weapon. But knowledge without application is worthless, and application without wisdom is dangerous. The skilled practitioner of these arts learns not just what people's vulnerabilities are but when those vulnerabilities matter, how they can be leveraged, why they should be exploited or protected. Sometimes the most powerful use of devastating information is not using it at all. The knowledge that you could destroy someone, combined with the restraint that prevents you from doing so, creates a form of obligation more binding than any contract. They become permanently indebted to your discretion, permanently dependent on your goodwill. This dynamic creates relationships of extraordinary complexity because the person being protected may never explicitly acknowledge their vulnerability, may never directly express their gratitude, may never consciously recognize their dependence. Yet the relationship exists, shapes their behavior, influences their decisions, guides their choices. The protection of secrets becomes a form of currency that appreciates over time. As the protected person's position improves, as their success grows, as their influence expands, the value of keeping their secrets increases proportionally. What might have been minor embarrassment years ago could be career-ending scandal today. This appreciation in value transforms information from simple intelligence into strategic asset. The patient collector of secrets becomes wealthy not in money but in influence, not in possessions but in possibilities, not in resources but in relationships that can be activated when needed. The activation requires extraordinary skill because the approach must never seem like blackmail, never feel like coercion, never appear threatening. Instead, it must seem like natural consequence of existing relationship, logical extension of mutual understanding, inevitable result of shared history. The conversation begins casually, often in social settings where business discussions would seem inappropriate. The topic is introduced indirectly, through questions about general situations rather than specific circumstances. The implications are allowed to emerge gradually rather than being stated explicitly. By the time the true purpose becomes clear, the target has already begun thinking about solutions, already started considering compliance, already accepted the basic premise that action is required. The decision feels like their choice rather than external pressure, their conclusion rather than imposed requirement. This psychological comfort is crucial because people resist what they perceive as force but embrace what they believe is their own idea. The art lies in creating conditions where the desired action appears to be the obvious choice, where compliance seems like wisdom rather than submission. The most sophisticated practitioners never make explicit demands, never issue direct threats, never create obvious connections between the information they possess and the actions they desire. Instead, they create contexts where these connections become apparent to the target without being stated by the source. This indirection protects both parties because it allows the target to maintain dignity while providing compliance, permits the source to achieve objectives without creating evidence of coercion. Both can pretend the outcome resulted from coincidence rather than calculation, from natural development rather than artificial pressure. The pretense is psychologically necessary for maintaining ongoing relationships because naked power plays destroy the trust required for future cooperation. People may submit to obvious pressure but they resent it, plan to escape it, wait for opportunities to reverse it. Subtle influence creates willing partners rather than reluctant victims. These willing partnerships become the foundation for larger networks of mutual obligation, shared interest, and coordinated action. Each relationship connects to others, creating webs of influence that span industries, cross borders, transcend traditional boundaries of organization or geography. The networks operate through informal agreements that are never written down, never officially acknowledged, never legally binding. Yet they are more reliable than contracts because they are based on mutual benefit rather than legal obligation, on shared understanding rather than formal requirement. Access to these networks cannot be purchased or demanded. It must be earned through demonstrated competence, proven reliability, and consistent contribution to collective objectives. The admission process is gradual, informal, based on recommendation and observation rather than application and interview. Once admitted, members find themselves part of a parallel infrastructure that operates alongside official institutions but with greater flexibility, faster response times, and more personalized solutions. When normal channels fail, when official procedures prove inadequate, when institutional answers come too slowly, the network provides alternatives, but membership comes with obligations as well as privileges. Those who benefit from network resources must contribute network value. Those who receive network assistance must provide network support. Those who enjoy network protection must offer network loyalty. The reciprocity is not precisely measured, but it is carefully monitored. Violations of network norms are punished not through confrontation but through exclusion, not through argument but through silence, not through public embarrassment but through private withdrawal of support. The violator simply finds that calls are not returned, invitations are not extended, assistance is not available when needed. This system of enforcement through withdrawal creates powerful incentives for appropriate behavior because exclusion is often irreversible. There are no appeals processes, no rehabilitation programs, no second chances for those who demonstrate they cannot be trusted with the privileges of membership. The fear of exclusion shapes behavior even among those who might otherwise be tempted to abuse their position. They understand that maintaining access requires constant attention to relationship dynamics, ongoing investment in mutual benefit, eternal vigilance against actions that might damage collective trust. This heightened awareness creates a culture of excellence within the network because everyone understands that their individual reputation affects their collective access. Poor performance by one member reflects on all members. Violations by one participant threaten all participants. Failures by one person endanger everyone's position. The culture becomes self-reinforcing because it attracts people who appreciate these values and repels those who do not. Over time, the network develops its own character, its own standards, its own expectations that transcend individual relationships and become institutional norms. These norms evolve gradually but continuously, adapting to changing circumstances while preserving essential principles. New technologies create new opportunities but also new vulnerabilities. Changing social attitudes modify acceptable practices but do not alter fundamental objectives. Shifting political landscapes require tactical adjustments but do not demand strategic revision. The persistence of core principles across changing circumstances demonstrates the network's maturity and sophistication. It has learned to bend without breaking, to adapt without abandoning identity, to evolve without losing essence. This flexibility ensures survival while maintaining effectiveness. The survival instinct extends to protection against external threats as well as internal disruption. The network monitors potential challenges from law enforcement, media investigation, political interference, competitive infiltration. It develops countermeasures, contingency plans, defensive strategies that activate automatically when threats are detected. But the best defense is often invisibility rather than resistance, avoidance rather than confrontation, irrelevance rather than importance. By maintaining low profiles, avoiding public attention, and operating through legitimate channels whenever possible, the network minimizes its exposure to external scrutiny. This strategy of protective obscurity requires discipline from all members because any individual's carelessness can expose the entire system. Public scandals, media attention, legal problems create risks that extend far beyond the person directly involved. Everyone's security depends on everyone's discretion. The discipline extends to all aspects of behavior, not just activities directly related to network business. Personal conduct, professional relationships, social interactions all reflect on collective reputation. Members understand they represent something larger than themselves in everything they do. This constant awareness of collective responsibility shapes individual choices in ways that become automatic over time. The question is not just whether something is beneficial personally but whether it serves network interests, not just whether it advances individual objectives but whether it supports collective goals. The alignment of individual and collective interests creates extraordinary effectiveness because everyone is motivated to contribute their best efforts to shared objectives. Personal success becomes collective success, individual failure becomes collective failure, private achievement becomes public benefit. This alignment is possible because the network creates value for all participants rather than extracting value from some for the benefit of others. Everyone benefits from everyone else's success, everyone contributes to everyone else's advancement, everyone's security depends on everyone else's prosperity. The creation of this mutual benefit requires constant attention to balance because individual needs and collective requirements do not always align naturally. Sometimes personal advantage must be sacrificed for group benefit. Sometimes immediate gains must be deferred for long-term stability. Sometimes individual preferences must yield to collective wisdom. These sacrifices are made willingly because members understand that their individual success depends on collective strength, that their personal security requires group stability, that their private prosperity needs public legitimacy. The network succeeds when all members succeed, fails when any member fails catastrophically. This interdependence creates bonds stronger than friendship, more reliable than family, more enduring than marriage. Members may disagree on tactics but they unite on strategy, may compete for resources but they cooperate against threats, may pursue different objectives but they share fundamental values. The values themselves are rarely discussed explicitly but they guide all decisions, shape all relationships, determine all priorities. Competence is valued over credentials, results over rhetoric, discretion over display. Character matters more than charisma, reliability more than brilliance, wisdom more than intelligence. These values create a meritocracy of the most demanding kind where performance is measured not in quarterly results but in generational impact, where success is judged not by public recognition but by private achievement, where power is evaluated not by official position but by actual influence. The evaluation never stops because circumstances constantly change, new challenges continuously arise. Fresh opportunities regularly appear. What qualified someone for admission may not sustain their membership. What earned their position may not maintain their influence. What created their reputation may not preserve their access. This constant testing ensures that the network remains populated by people worthy of the trust placed in them, capable of the responsibilities assigned to them, deserving of the opportunities provided to them. Stagnation is prevented through continuous renewal. Decline is avoided through perpetual evolution. The evolution process identifies and develops the next generation of leaders while maintaining continuity with established traditions. New members learn from experienced practitioners while bringing fresh perspectives to old challenges. Innovation is encouraged within proven frameworks while experimentation proceeds under careful supervision. This balance between stability and change allows the network to adapt to new circumstances while preserving essential capabilities. It can respond to technological disruption without losing human wisdom, embrace social change without abandoning moral principles, navigate political upheaval without sacrificing strategic objectives. The navigation requires skills that cannot be learned from books because they deal with situations too complex for academic analysis, too fluid for theoretical framework, too personal for objective study. They must be developed through experience, refined through practice, perfected through application. The development process takes decades because mastery of these skills requires understanding that comes only from repeated exposure to high-stakes situations where mistakes have permanent consequences. Each success builds confidence but also reveals new challenges. Each failure provides education but also demonstrates limitations. The accumulated wisdom becomes institutional memory that transcends individual knowledge, collective understanding that surpasses personal insight, shared intelligence that exceeds any single mind's capacity. The network becomes smarter than its smartest member, more capable than its most competent participant, more powerful than its most influential individual. This transcendence of individual limitation represents the highest achievement of organized human effort, the creation of collective capability that exceeds the sum of individual contributions, the establishment of institutional wisdom that outlasts personal mortality, the development of systematic power that survives its creators. But this achievement requires sacrifices that few people are willing or able to make. Individual desires must sometimes yield to collective needs, personal ambitions must occasionally serve group objectives, private interests must periodically support public purposes. The price of membership in something greater than oneself is often being less than one might be alone. The compensation for these sacrifices comes in the form of capabilities that would be impossible to develop individually, opportunities that would be unavailable to single actors, influence that would be unimaginable for isolated persons. The network provides access to resources, relationships, and possibilities that no individual could create or maintain independently. The access must be earned continuously because it cannot be taken for granted, cannot be inherited automatically, cannot be preserved without ongoing contribution. Each generation must prove worthy of what previous generations built. Each member must justify the trust others place in them. Each participant must contribute value proportional to benefits received. This requirement for continuous earning ensures that the network remains dynamic, relevant, effective across changing circumstances and evolving challenges. It attracts people who appreciate the opportunity to be part of something significant while repelling those who seek unearned benefits or undeserved influence. The self-selection process gradually improves the quality of membership over time because those who cannot meet the standards remove themselves while those who exceed the requirements attract similar people. Excellence becomes normal, competence becomes expected, wisdom becomes routine. The normalization of extraordinary capability creates an environment where great achievements become possible, where impossible challenges become manageable, where unthinkable solutions become obvious. The network develops capacity to address problems that defeat normal institutions, solve puzzles that stump conventional wisdom, create changes that transform entire societies. This transformative power represents both the ultimate opportunity and the ultimate responsibility. With the ability to shape events comes the obligation to shape them well. With the power to influence outcomes comes the duty to influence them wisely. With the capacity to create change comes the requirement to create positive change. The responsibility cannot be avoided because power exercised carelessly creates problems for everyone. Influence used poorly damages collective reputation. Capabilities deployed wrongly threaten institutional survival. Everyone's future depends on everyone's wisdom. Everyone's security requires everyone's judgment. Everyone's success demands everyone's integrity. In the end, the three words that can destroy anyone, anytime, anywhere are not weapons to be used lightly but tools to be wielded wisely, not threats to be made carelessly but leverage to be applied thoughtfully. Their power comes not from their destructive potential but from their constructive restraint, not from their ability to harm but from their capacity to help. The ultimate secret is that the most powerful words are often the ones never spoken. The most devastating weapons are frequently the ones never used. The most effective influence is usually the kind never noticed. True power operates through what does not happen as much as through what does, through what is not said as much as through what is said. Understanding this paradox marks the difference between those who use power and those who are used by it, between those who wield influence and those who are destroyed by it, between those who master the three words and those who become their victims.